welcome to another high-powered episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder, coming to you live from the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado, joined by my awesome co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. King James Stallcup, over there in Hook'em Horns, Big Sky Country, Texas, giving all Hook'em Horns from the Mile High City. Really appreciate everyone joining us every week. So much fun. We get so many people in there, and look who is coming to try to get back on the winning track again. Daniel had the most wins in a row against King James, all to just give it up, and King James has...
He's down 3-1 to start the year. I'm back on track again.
Yep. So, looks like Daniel's got some catching up to do, and look at we have in the chat, we have Mr. E, Mr. David Englehart, one of our favorite code nerds, showing up to say, good evening, all you code nerds out there. And yes, you heard me. Let's get learning. I 100% agree, David. I learned something this week on the Myth of the Week, and we're all going to learn from it. So that's really awesome. King James posted up his link. I'm going to go ahead and...
Pretty soon I'll be getting close now to checking all the NEC deathmatch. We'll be announcing that for too long.
I should pin that into the...
As Bill will tell you, I've been busy this week. He's called me a couple times. I've been in depots. I'm going to be there again next week. We didn't even do Monday night because I wasn't even heading home to almost 10 o'clock. And I was over there at 7 in the morning, man. I was freaking tired.
Well, part of the reason I was calling you was because we had some interesting comments come from the IAEI podcast on Tuesday. So I got those comments for you first thing. We'll get started with it. And just let me know if there's any reason you want to stop. There's going to be a reason you want me to stop, but we'll start off with that just to kind of break the ice. And thanks everyone for joining us. Here we go with our audio of the week.
Let's see.
It's kind of a little rough. I threw it together kind of last minute.
But in any case, the debates on 210.8F, and I would say appliances, has been around compatibility. The challenge has been that use of the equipment grounding conductor for current.
All right, I'm gonna start off first on this. They didn't even know about that they were putting current on the equipment grounding conductor when this all got passed in 2020.
First of all, let me. You can tell he's having problems here because he's going slow. He's having to think about what he's wanting to say, and that is right away. That was a tell sign for me that they're trying to figure something out. And when 210.8F went in, that had nothing to do. They never mentioned anything about the equipment. This is backtracking, is what it sounds like is going on to me right now. But we'll play the rest and see what's said. But that's what it's sounding like so far.
Yep.
250 tells us do not put currents on the equipment grounding conductor. They call them objectionable currents. There are reasons for that. Compatibility with GFCI is one of those reasons. Now, typically, and I say typically, look, there's snow falling off the roof. It's starting to get warm outside, must be. Typically, the current over the equipment grounding conductor has been high frequency, which is why you have an HF mark on GFCIs, and you had the changes to UL 943 to permit listing a product where it ignores or it handles high frequency ground faults differently than 60 hertz ground fault currents. So you had this change to 943 to address that, and now we're seeing more variable frequency drives and similar, I'll say variable frequency drives on a lot of this equipment, including refrigerators and things of that nature.
So what's funny about this that I want to interject is they didn't even know about any of this compatibility when they passed this. when they passed 210.8F, they were just like, this is a border, this is just a across the board change, and we don't care if it works or not. You have to do it. Well, guess what? All these jurisdictions kicked back on them and said, no, we're not going to do it unless you tell us what's compatible and what's not compatible, and they couldn't do it. And so what did they have to do? They had to submit their own TIA that included the death for the first time. It was a tragic death from a young boy in Southside Chicago jumping a fence, and they had to include that death in their TIA. So it was pretty interesting, and they did. Tommy D did show that there was 10 milliamps, but David, this is kind of like what we've been talking about, kind of picking and choosing, because that's one instance that's a compatibility issue. That's not every instance.
Let me say something about this also.
That is within the threshold of the UL standard. So King James brought that up a long time ago, that's permitted. That's not a violation.
That's right. And I also brought up when 210.8F went in, I stated when they put the AC units on there, they come in, did the TIA afterwards, all that crap. I stated at that time, they did not provide any technical merit where they did any testing or anything that was requiring this GFCI protection. And this is what upsets me more than anything about this, is you've got code making panel members now that are saying, well, the code overrides that. If you're going to state that, what you're basically saying is that UL, all the NERDLs, QTLs, qualified testing laboratories, whatever you want to call them, that all the work they do in the testing and everything, which the code making panels don't do any of, that somehow they're smarter than the people that did the testing and everything that didn't require the GFCI protection. This is where I have a problem at this point with this. But I'm curious to see what else he has to say.
Oh, it gets better.
Outdoor outlets, the compatibility concerns are typically around HVAC. That's the biggest complaint. The other one I would say is electric vehicle charging.
He just now come in and said due to compatibility issues. Let me ask this of you. What's his name? You're talking here. What's his name? This is
Thomas Dimitrovich.
Thomas Dimitrovich.
Yeah.
Let me ask this of Thomas Dimitrovich. Now you're saying there's compatibility issues. Were you asking that same question when you put 210.8F in and to check and see if testing was done that Class A would even work on it? No, you didn't do any of that. You went ahead as a code making panel, put something in that has compatibility issues and everything else, and didn't do any verifications or anything just because y'all want to put in GFCI protection. And once again, who does he work for?
Eaton.
Yeah. And what does Eaton sell? GFCIs. And isn't it Thomas Dimitrovich who stated we make all these protection devices and everything, and if we don't put it in the code, they won't purchase them?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that him that said that? Yeah.
They're more expensive and nobody's going to use them,
Yeah.
even though they put it in the code. And the thing that's funny is the only thing that they put in the code is their opinion on how the code should be interpreted. That's been since day one, and he's still doing it because he got crushed. So just so everyone knows, I submitted public input 1440 for the 2026 cycle, where all I did was I added one word. I thought it was hilarious because they had to pick one way or the other. They had to either add the word outlet or they had to reject my public input. They told me they were going to reject every one of my public inputs, well, I added the word receptacles and outlets, and here's all these guys coming and attacking me, Jesse Duvay and everybody saying, oh, it's the same thing. A receptacle and an outlet's the same thing. Why can't you just put outlets? Why do you have to put receptacles and outlets? And it was just really funny how they passed my public input all the way through first draft, second draft, everything, And even Tommy D, you'll hear in here where he says he didn't have nothing to do with code making panel 12, but he was over there in code making panel 12's meeting discussing my public input, and I
Sure
can
he
guarantee he had some input on it.
We got the
And it was
audio
just-
for that too.
Yeah, and so it's in here. We'll keep going.
Now, if you haven't, this is another big misconception. Oh man, another misconception.
Okay, so it's a misconception. This is really funny. You'll love this, James. It's a misconception here.
This one. 625, Article 625 handles electric vehicle charging equipment. And I've heard some people say because in 625 they were going to make modifications to provide some relief on hardwired electric vehicle charging equipment. They were going to provide some relief in that area.
Stop.
Because
What do you mean they were going to provide relief? They came in and put it in the code that you had to have GFCI protection for hardwired equipment. Where was the relief? No, what the relief was, it went before the Standards Council, and the code making panel did not provide the technical merit to do what they did, and the EVSE that fought against it said, no, we've done the testing and everything. Here's the proof. And the General Assembly, everybody that voted for this GFCI protection, yeah, like Jeremy Wee, I see him commenting there. Oh, see, y'all don't know what you're talking about. The General Assembly, everybody agreed with. And at that time, who said it? I said, wait till it gets Standards Council. It's getting taken down. You watch. And they told me, you don't know the code making process, blah, blah, blah. Everything happened the way I said it was going to happen. And then they come in and said, yeah, the EVSE. Oh, and by the way, Jeremy, it was EVSE people that transcribed our podcast, what we were saying, proving the facts and everything.
Sure.
And based on our podcast that was transcribing the information they had, they went to Standards Council and won. So there's no misconception here for relief. He's lying to you right now. That did not happen.
Well, and the thing that's funny is, if it was relief, then you would think that Tesla and ChargePoint and all them would be in favor of it, and they upheld the appeal pushed through by them. That was unanimously thing, you know. And what's funny is there was only one word I added, Jeremy, to that reference. I added outlet. They went and added page upon page. They basically copy and pasted. They copy and pasted 210.8 and they put it over there. And guess what got rejected? Guess what got taken out? All those pages, and it went back to one sentence that only covers receptacles. So you try to tell me when the code making panel tried to say that they override the manufacturer instructions, and now all of a sudden the Standards Council says, nah, you don't override
They say,
the
look at the
manufacturer.
listing and labeling of the product certification of equipment.
Yep.
That's exactly word for word what
They didn't say only if outdoors. They didn't say anything like that.
So my question now is, I'm waiting to see if he comments on this. I hadn't heard this audio yet, but I'm curious to see if 210.8F overrides it now. This is what I'm waiting to see if he comments on that.
Dude, I'm showing it right now, Weed Man.
Yeah, we're showing you word for word what they're saying.
Dude.
A lot of pause in between
so
this.
what 625 did, it was appealed and they removed everything. So now you're left with what was in the previous edition of the code, the 2023 code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so what's funny is, just so everyone gets this right, me and King James, we did a podcast about EVSE, and we're like, wow, I don't see where 210.8F applies to this anywhere because it says only receptacles.
That's
and
right.
so there's the charge points and the Teslas and everything, and they have in their listing and labeling, they say do not put it on a GFCI because basically the EVSE equipment is the GFCI. This is where it got really out of control, was because what happened is they started realizing all these guys that pushed through this 210.8F saying that all outdoor outlets require GFCI protection, they didn't realize that EVSE already considered all that. That's why if you go look at it, if you want to make a big argument there, Weed Man, the outlet is at the vehicle. The vehicle is the utilization equipment, and they couldn't stand that because they're like, no, now it has to have 2 GFCIs because we just crushed all of their whole argument on 210.8F saying that this applies. It does not apply to EBSE, and so then that's why I submitted that one word. I submitted outlet. That's all I did. I changed one outlet. I knew that just adding that one word, it would pass because it's not radically changing the code. That's what they do every time. It's just funny. You can see he's backpedaling really hard right now.
Which just says electric vehicle charging equipment that's cord and plug connected has to be GFCI protected. Doesn't say anything about hardwired. So I've heard some people say, oh, hardwired is not required to be GFCI protected.
It's not.
And that is not correct.
Says you.
Oh, really? So you're keep going because I want to hear if he says
25
anything.
Has a requirement for cord and plug connected. An absence of any language that says 210.8F does not apply. Absence of that means 210.8F does apply. If 625 was...
Stop right there. I'm going to tell everybody, you don't ever need to listen to this guy ever again. Him stating that. All you have to do is go look at what the Standards Council said. And they told you didn't put GFCI protection on it. They said refer to the listing and labeling of the product certification of the equipment. And they're telling you not to do it. End of discussion. It doesn't matter what his opinion is. And this goes back once again to what I said. We get people on these code making panels and they push certain things. They've done no testing or anything to verification of that equipment. And this is what we're getting into. It does not apply.
You can sit there and holler all you want, Jeremy. It's not. You can't just make it apply when it doesn't. When the Standards Council overruled the code making panel,
they did. They overrode them. And you want to talk about elitism? This is it right here. Do as we say, not as we do. That's Jeremy, the ECD boys, and all of them rolled up in one. They're pushing this, and they want it done. They want GFCI protection. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this.
I posted all the documentation, Jeremy, of exactly what the Standards Council said, and they said you do not go against the listing and labeling. If the manufacturer says do not put it on a GFCI, you do not put it on a GFCI. It doesn't matter if it's outdoors or in a garage. You'll hear he does some picking and choosing.
Well, keep going because I'm going to find it.
Have made the changes that they were proposing, which would have permitted a special purpose Class C GFCI. Well, actually, it said special purpose, so it would have been a Class C, D, or E. Any one of those would have been permitted, and the HF. Because they did not do that, you're left with 210.8F, and the only load that I can use a Class C special purpose GFCI on is HVAC. I can't use it on electric vehicle charging equipment. So if I have a hardwired...
See, that's what's so stupid, because he's sitting there saying you can't use Class C. How about Class 0? How about Class nothing? How about Class don't even do it? You know, what about that? You know? Like, that's why they're so sour, because they pushed this so hard as far as they could. They pushed it all the way into the cans. So just to let everyone know out there, there was 11 certified amending motions to revert it back to the original text of 2023. 11 certified amending motions. All 11 were rejected by the code making panel. So what did they do? They took the appeal, they went upstream, they went to the Standards Council, and the Standards Council ruled with all those 11 certified amending motions. So if that doesn't tell you if these guys are over there telling each other how to vote and everything like that, that'll tell you something right there. I'll keep going.
Electric vehicle charging equipment, I can't use a Class C. It's got to be a GFCI. So
it doesn't have to be nothing. I don't have to use anything.
Back on the roof, bro.
Sorry about that. I should have probably cleaned that up a little.
now we have options. And that's what I was really, I tried to emphasize in 625.
So this is what the liberals do every time. So they have this school that's in Boulder County, and they don't like the children to have ice cream in the vending machine. So they say, you know what? We want them to have healthier options. So what do? They take away ice cream, and they take away all the stuff they don't like, and what do they replace it with? Nothing that's a healthier option. It's not an option to ice cream. It's not an option to candy bar. It's not an option to anything. It's broccoli. You know, like, that is not an option. That is not a healthy option. You know, you're not getting a better option than ice cream. Why wouldn't it be like frozen yogurt? Or why wouldn't it be, you know, so this is what they're doing. They do this bait and switch where they're sitting there like, oh yeah, you know, we're going to give you a healthier option than ice cream. Well, broccoli is not a healthy option to ice cream. Nobody's going to buy that. You're taking away. It's communist at its best. Is you're taking away an option. Why do we even need an option? I don't have to put Class A on a EBSE, so why would I need an option? I don't. The only reason I do is because Tommy D says I do.
I'm not on that Cook Panel. That is Cook Panel 12, I believe. David, correct me if I'm wrong. But yes, 625.54, Laurel says all receptacles installed, blah, blah, blah. So it's 625.54 is going to tell you cord and plug connected. But because it doesn't say anything about hardwired, that means you're still in 210.8F. Now, if I hardwire in my garage, then I don't need a GFCI because the garage requirement in, say, a dwelling unit is receptacles. That's in 210.8A and B. It's just receptacles in a garage. 210.8F applies to outdoor outlets. So if I have an outdoor vehicle charger, and it's 60 amps, single phase, or less to ground, and then I think there is a, let me go.
So the thing that's so stupid about this is it's exactly what we were telling Weedman. Is you sit there and say, oh yeah, this applies. Oh, but you could hardwire in a garage all day. There's no hazard there. Oh, really? So you could, like, everything in a garage has to have GFCI protection. You know, like, it's so stupid. It's so dumb that they have to bring this up. You know, it's just picking and choosing. Oh, it applies over here, but it doesn't apply over there. So, you know, it's ridiculous. So here's what the documentation that Weedman's talking about.
When you go in and you look, this is, let me go up here so everybody knows. This is NFPA. Okay, go look at the final decision, D number 25-2. It's all right here for you to look at.
Here's
not
the documentation.
Hearsay.
Jeremy.
So you wanted your documentation to say we're wrong on everything we do. So let's just take a look. It says the record reflects technical disagreement that warrants further consideration. Therefore, the council directs NFPA staff to establish a balanced task group to review the technical issues raised in this appeal in order to identify any safety concerns, identify any risk, and determine whether a TIA may be appropriate. Accordingly, the council has voted to uphold the appeal. The effect in this action, the NFPA 70 National Electrical Code will not include the text of the second revision of number 7875 or any related first revisions or final correlating revisions. Period. I can go through and read all the rest of this.
Which
right there,
said there was an outlet, and they rejected that, Jeremy. So they did not say there was a hazard with the outlet. There's no outlet. They don't even have to describe where the outlet is, like what we're gonna do in the next cycle, where we're gonna force them to show where the outlet is because you don't even know. We've been asking you forever, Weedman. Tell us where the outlet is. Show us where the outlet is. Show us the location. You can't do it, and it's comical. You know, I think it's almost over.
Let me show you something. Let me come back over.
It's just funny that Tommy has to push this.
For dwellings, all outdoor outlets other than those covered in 210.8A, including outdoor outlets installed at the following locations.
Installed.
Single-phase branch circuits, blah, 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 shall be GFCI protected. So I still have this requirement for single-phase branch circuits rated 150 volts or less to ground, 60 amps or less. Those have to be GFCI protected. There's nothing in here for three-phase.
They are GFCI protected by the manufacturer.
So Laurel, you're right, and it's important for everybody to, I think, to see that. Anyway, Steve's doing it for the love of the game, Josh.
But I think that's pretty much it. But
didn't he say something that the code making panels wasn't given substantiations? They say they would just write that it only provides clarity, and it doesn't provide clarity and something else that they write.
So I don't know if I missed on that soundbite. I might have missed on it.
I want that one.
Dude, Daniel's loving it. So basically what he said was that people were saying stuff about you have this chance to submit public inputs and stuff, and he goes, yeah, you could submit public inputs and you could get a response from the code making panel, and they have to give you an answer. And he goes, unless they say it doesn't add clarity, I think that's just a cop out.
Clarity and usability.
Yeah.
And I want to go over that real quick. I submitted on a lot of different definitions, and I put it in the informational note, gave them the opportunity to clarify where the location of the outlet is. They denied all of them. And one, this doesn't provide clarity and usability. Well, apparently it's okay with you to do that, Thomas, when it's y'all doing it. But if it's somebody that doesn't provide it for you, then you got a problem with it. And furthermore, they went in.
Daniel, we struck a nerve tonight, brother.
Well, I'm going to go a step further because this actually happened. Then they turned around and they told me, based on certain rules, the NFPA standards development process, this cannot be added into the information note. Then they turn around in the 2026, two different definitions. And in the information note, guess what they did? Oh, they put the types of appliances that are there. Well, what's the difference of putting the locations of these different outlets since they're supposedly supposed to be there? Oh, no, when they have to do that, oh, wait a minute, we can't do it, but we can do it for this other stuff. So that's why I tell you, when you're getting people on these code making panels like this is where you start getting in a problem, and they start picking and choosing when they want to apply certain rules and procedures, but it's okay for other things. And then they get upset when you don't comment when they do something, but it's okay for them to do it. The double standard is unfreaking believable.
So I'll show everyone, there was two things that really I thought was interesting with the 2026 public input phase. Me and King James, we were like one-upping each other when we're putting them. I'm like, oh yeah, check this out. I did this one. And then you're like, oh yeah, check this one, But it was really fun.
I'll tell everybody, I'll go find it and I'll post it. All y'all got to do, go watch. He wanted to do a live stream with me, and I destroyed him. And he's sitting there telling he's going to do this. But I want to show you the type of person he is. This is what he writes on there, calling everybody names and everything. You want to talk about somebody that is unprofessional. And he's supposed to be an educator, and he talks like this to people. It shows you that elitist attitude they have up there in Minnesota in the way that they talk to people.
Sure. Yeah, so the thing that was hilarious is King James got some really good comments back on his, and one of them said, the disconnect is not always the outlet.
Yeah.
And I thought that one was a good one because it's like, okay, so show us times when it is and times when it isn't. So they could show us the times when they could show us that it's never an outlet. They'll say, oh no, it's never an outlet. But the thing is, they can't make these blanket statements, And it's really funny because I watched it live, dude, and Weedman had not one single point that he made to say you needed to have 1,000 amp wire and 1,000 amp disconnect on that, so, or 1,000 amp overcurrent device. So not one single time in a whole hour and 10 minutes, or it was longer than that. But it was funny. It was like a whole hour, and not one single thing proved King James was wrong in the way he calculated that. But it was really funny because I submitted, and I wanted to change the definition to individual branch circuit, because a lot of times what I try to bring to this podcast is I try to bring like how we do it out in the field, you know. And you could tell me, you know, hey Bill, have you ever put a single receptacle on a washer? No. Like, I don't think a single time have I ever put a single simplex receptacle on a washer in the laundry area. Never, I don't think a single time. Every single time I put a duplex, right? Well, guess what? That changes it from not an individual branch circuit. If you look at that manufacturer instructions on that washer says connect to an individual branch circuit. Okay, well, we'll connect it to an individual branch circuit. And if you put a duplex in there, that's not an individual branch circuit. That's a code violation. So,
see, one of the things I like is to bring as Jeremy says, the documentation. So
yeah,
I've got all of these here. You'll see related content: device, outlet, receptacle outlet. And
what public input is that?
This is one that was in the first revision for this.
Well, no, what number was that? Does it give you a number on there?
I know mine was 1742. Public input.
Mine was 1440.
And when you look at this, it says the load side of a disconnecting means, this is their resolution, their committee statement. The load side of a disconnecting means is not always the outlet. Okay, let's stop right there. We got Jeremy on stream, and he apparently is the guru he thinks he is. So let's ask Jeremy, when does it happen that an outlet is not always or a disconnecting means is not always an outlet?
Yeah, where's the disconnect outlet?
Now, I'm going to give everybody an example here, because he brought this question up a long time ago, and I stuck by this answer.
All right, give us the times when it is the outlet.
Yeah, tell us, because I'm going to tell you when it is. So he gave his problem. I've got a switch over here on the wall, and it's directly connected straight over. There's no box or anything, straight into the lighting fixture. He goes, where's the outlet? I said, it's at the switch box. That's where you got a disconnecting means, because the box is outlet, like I've been saying forever, just like the receptacle outlet's the box when you have a receptacle there. I said, that's where it would be. Now,
so the equipment's the luminaire, and the premises wiring would be at the outlet box, right?
Yeah, I want everybody to follow along so you can see where I have problems with, you know, where I take the code as a whole and Jeremy just pulls a definition out and doesn't look at the whole code and apply it properly. So if I go over and say I come from that switch and I go over and I'm at a box, and then I come off that box and I go to the lighting fixture, I said, where's the luminaire? Where's outlet? He said, luminaire. I said, really? Because when I look at 314.27, it tells me it's the outlet box up there, Jeremy. You see what I'm saying? That's the outlet up there that's going and feeding this. So the 4 square box that's up in the ceiling that you have 4 luminaires tied into, that's not equipment? That's my whole point. And what about this? What if I buy a lighting fixture and it already comes with a whip and I put it on there? Where's the outlet? And all you got to do is go look at all the sections I'm giving you here. It isn't, you know, me just going off on a rant. I'm giving you actual sections and everything instead of just giving you one quote and saying it applies to everything. So we're still asking at this point, Jeremy. I gave you an example of a disconnecting means that could be considered an outlet. I want you to give me a definition. The code making panel stated this, okay? So we got a code making panel that went in and they literally stated that the disconnecting means is not always an outlet, which most time it never is. But I gave you an installation where that could be. I'm waiting for you to give me an installation where the disconnecting means can be considered an outlet.
But even still, at that point, when you look at it, like from the technical part of it, the switch itself is not the outlet. The enclosure is the outlet.
Yeah, and well, the switch. Now that's what I said. The box is.
Yeah, but that's where Weedman keeps trying to twist it, and he keeps trying to say you're trying to say that the switch is the outlet. We never said that.
I never said. I said the box is.
Yeah, the enclosure would be. So just so people understand, like if you go to the supply house and you say, "Hey, I need to get a 50 amp receptacle outlet," they're gonna hand you a receptacle. And it's going to be 50 amp rated and everything like that. So this is what I keep telling my apprentice a lot. I'm like, dude, you have to make sure that your terminology is correct when you're stating stuff. You have to make sure, because you have to know what you're talking about. If you go in there and you say, hey, I want a receptacle outlet, the supply house could say, no, we don't have those, because that's the location the receptacle is installed in. You know, it's the same way as, you know, when you get some of this different stuff, and they are, you know, really getting freaked out because they, you know, like they start using like explanation marks and they start getting like capitals and stuff because they're losing and they can't get the narrative. They're losing that narrative. And, you know, the guys like Weedman, they're losing that narrative. They can't get the narrative and they don't like it because now they understand that, you know, I'm out there, I'm convincing King James. King James is the HJ, former chief of City of Grapevine. I'm convincing you, hey, dude, guess what, King James? I don't need GFCI protection because I didn't install an outlet. And you're like, yep, I agree, Bill. Yeah, you didn't install an outlet. And they don't like that.
I want to go further so everybody can see exactly what I'm talking about here. So I've got a thing I can go through right here. So I put... I did the same thing. A device is considered to be an outlet. See definition of outlet. They give me the same thing. A device can be part of the outlet, but not always an outlet. No kidding. That's exactly, you're basically telling me, and then they give me the thing. The note contains explanatory information to support or improve usability of the associated definition. So I said, okay, let's go look at a receptacle. So I come in here, a receptacle is considered an outlet and not a device. Oh, I really wanted that because that's what you're telling us. And then they tell me.
Now you can go buy a box of outlets there, King James.
That's right. They said the suggested additional note 2 would create confusion since a receptacle by definition is a contact device, not an outlet. No kidding. That's what I've been trying to say. Okay, so we'll say, okay, well, you want to look at it that way, so let's see what they said on the receptacle outlet. So I did the same thing. I just put delete definition. I gave my reason, since you're saying the device and the outlet are the same thing. And oh no, this definition, the deleting the definition does not improve clarity. The current definition of a receptacle outlet is intended to differentiate, listen to this, from other outlets such as a luminaire outlet. No kidding. So I said, all right, well, with that in mind, let's go tie it into an outlet. Okay. Now, what I did here, I tied everything back to here. Of course, Jeremy tells me you don't know how to write proposals, but everything went right back to this outlet. And I said, an outlet is a point on the wiring system located at the outlet box at a circuit breaker, because they've told us it could be at the circuit breaker. The load side of a disconnecting means they told us that. The wiring method, they told us it could be the wiring method at one time. Inside utilization equipment, that way they know there's an outlet there, or where the wiring method connects to utilization equipment. We actually had Ryan telling us that at one time. So
to add,
then they come down. This is what they said. The proposed informational note does not support the definition. What do you mean it doesn't support it? Y'all gave all these items lines here for us to go by where there's an outlet. So they put further, an informational note cannot contain a requirement or make interpretation per 2.1.10.2 of the NEC style manual. Really? So you're telling me I can't give items like that? Well, let's see if they did that. Let's go back up here. It may be in the second one, I have a feeling.
So the one thing I want to add, just so everyone knows this, they proposed, the code-making panel 1 proposed to change the definition of outlet for the first time in 100 years because of King James challenging this. And they actually wanted it to say the outlet is where the branch circuit conductors connect to utilization equipment. And they realized they had a problem when they did that, because I came right on Tommy D's show when he said it, analysis of changes right away. They're all going through the thing, and I'm like, oh, so there's no outlet when it's cord and plug connected now.
Mm-hmm. I'm about to share the screen to this and show.
They did not like that.
So they just quoted to me all these things that they look at and all that. Then if I go look at the definition of appliance, oh, looky here. Now they took and had an informational note and told me you couldn't give examples of things like that. And now we got examples of appliances are clothes washers, air conditioners, food mixers, and deep fryers. Oh, well, you just quoted to me in the NEC style manual, I couldn't do that. And now watch this. So
you're making interpretations there.
Yeah. So watch this. This is awesome. So now they tell me I couldn't do examples, but now look what they did. The examples of, this is their committee statement. The examples of appliances were moved to an informational note to comply with the NEC style manual 2.1.2.2.5. Oh, you got to be kidding me. So I couldn't do this by these rules because you didn't want to do it. But now, since you want it, I can do it based on this. Yeah. And that right there is the cold hard truth, folks. Showing you exactly what they said.
So I had a public input. I don't remember the exact public input, but what I propose to do is I propose to change the definition of individual branch circuit. And it was funny because all these definitions were getting proposed to change. Not a single one changed. They all stayed the same because we were right. That's the whole reason why. But
that is a lie, folks. They did tell us that. And Jeremy was there supporting all his buddies, Collins and all of them, who said a device and outlet are the same thing. Did they not say 100%. That, Bill?
Yeah, 100%.
They sure the hell did.
Well, it reflects, if you guys don't believe us, go look at 625. I think it's 44 or 45. 625, it still says it in the 2023. It says provide a 2-pole 50 amp NEMA 3R rated receptacle outlet. It doesn't exist. And they were making it the same, and it just like exactly what King James is saying. They put these guys on the code making panels. They don't know the terminology. They don't know what they're talking about, and they make proposals that get passed that are absolutely wrong. And if you go, it was funny because every time I go to the supply house, I'm like, hey, you got any of those receptacle outlets that are 2-pole 50 amp? And I'll show them in the code. And they're like, no, we can't get those. And it's really funny because they're literally telling me the truth because I'm asking for the EV rated ones. And they can't get the EV rated ones, So, yeah, so the thing is, that's so funny is that you can't show anything, Weed Man, because you go back and forth so many times that it's just, all you do, the only thing you have is just calling people names. That's all you have.
He agreed one time with them when that who was that? Was it Collier? I think that posted it, and he was trying to argue the fact. He said that the outlet was at an infinite point.
Yeah,
and they kept saying it's a point on the wiring system. It can be anywhere, and Jeremy agreed with him.
100% he did.
And then he finally got off of that one. They have taken so many times at this point and changed their locations. Bill knows this 100% fact. When this first happened, they were attacking me left and right because I said there was no outlet. Then they started saying calling me all kinds of names, our material sucks, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. I said, and I didn't really know what was going on at the time. And I said, they were saying the outlet was on the load side of the disconnector means. That Jeremy was there too when he said it.
Yeah.
And
I said, well, point there, Reed, man.
I said, if you look at a disconnecting means, I said it's a device. And I said, if you're going to say it's a device, you're basically saying an outlet could be at a circuit breaker. It went silent for about an hour and a half, and then they come back and said it was at the equipment. And I said, well, is that AC unit rated for a weatherproof location? They said, what the hell does that have to do? I said, well, if it's following by code and installation standards that you're talking about, I said, that should be a weatherproof location by code. That's what you're saying, and it's not. So basically what you're saying is that AC piece of equipment violates the NEC. And there's many more pieces of equipment like that too. And they said, well, that's based on listing and labeling. I said, well, show me any documentation anywhere from a manufacturer where you're hardwiring something and they call that an outlet where that termination's made.
True. Yeah, I mean,
that's the facts.
Dude, the thing is that I want to give a big shout out to all the people over on Rumble. Dude, we got like 4 or 5 people over there. So that's really cool that we got people over on Rumble. Dude, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. It means a lot that there's a bunch of people from, I'm working over at DIA. And there's a bunch of people from DIA that are like, dude, I missed your podcast, man. And I'm like, dude, that's cool. I was like, you can watch it later,
Yeah, watch it.
It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of great information in there. And the thing is, just so everyone understands, I submitted a public input. And what me and King James noticed was if you go look at the definition outlet, it says a point on the wiring system or current is taken to supply utilization equipment. Okay, that's general. But then if you look at individual branch circuit, it says a branch circuit that supplies one utilization equipment. Okay, how can you have a piece of utilization equipment that's supplied by a branch circuit without mentioning an outlet? So I was like, all right. So I went and I was like, yeah, that's a good thing. So, and I think this makes really good sense the way I worded it, exactly the way I worded it. I said, a branch circuit that supplies one outlet that utilization equipment connects to.
That's it.
And I thought that was perfect. And they rejected it and they said it doesn't add clarity. And what they do, they put it back to the original one.
Yeah, I like when he makes these comments because, only 4 or 5 people listen, but yet we're still the only podcast that they transcribed and took before the Standards Council, but nobody listens to us. It just goes to show, when you're getting into electrical, it's niche and all of that. But the thing is, more and more people are watching, and they're not on we're live, they watch it later. And you get these people like Jeremy and over there who basically is a simp for his boys over there. And he comes over here every week and just starts calling us names, everything. And this is true. When they're attacking you like this constantly, there's a reason.
Yeah,
and
we're doing something right.
We're doing something right.
Yeah. And, the thing is that's funny is there's only one group of people that's saying we were wrong. And it wasn't the Standards Council, Jeremy. So...
yeah.
Well, how did the Standards Council say we're wrong again? Oh, that's right. They rejected exactly what I thought was hilarious to add one word, the word outlet, and they said, nope, we're not putting outlet in there. You can't do that. We're only going to put it on receptacles. So guess what? The EBSE itself is not an outlet, Jeremy. That's what you've been trying to say this whole entire time. Where's the outlet, James? Where's Jeremy say the outlet is? Oh yeah, at the Luminaire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where's Jeremy say the outlet is? Oh, on the EBSE. Oh yeah, where's Jeremy say the outlet is? Oh yeah, at the HVAC on Hardwired Connections. Oh, guess what, Jeremy? You're the one that got proven wrong by the Standards Council, not us. So they went and transcribed our podcast because we're proving you wrong. So, you can sit there and say whatever
Didn't
you
I
want.
do this already? Everybody can go watch. Y'all can see for yourself. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Also, I want to prove this to everybody. He'll just take one little something he reads and he applies that to everything. He doesn't look at everything in the code. And when we were doing our debate earlier, I was quoting section after section after section after section. And all he did was quote one thing, and that's what he wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like, oh, dude, the outlet's at the EBSE, at the vehicle, at the EV.
I'll answer this. Okay, let's look at this. If there is an outlet there, like you say, Jeremy, then why did the Standards Council overturn it?
Sure.
It doesn't matter if it's compatibility issue or anything. By code, they have to do it. That's just fact. Matter of fact, something that'd probably be pretty good. Let me pull it up because this is always.
Dude, now he's calling you Jesus, dude. Like what?
Yeah,
dude,
well,
like you don't even know his name. His name is not Jesus. All right.
Just and one of the reasons we do this and show things that are.
Dude, now you're electrical Jesus, dude. What the hell?
I'm not electrical Jesus. I'm just showing you what it says. But let's look at. I want to look at the 2026.
He misspelled James. Oh, that's what it was.
If we go in and we look at, let's just see what it says, so everybody can see exactly where Bill and I are coming from. It isn't us just our opinion, and we're just telling you this is the way you got to do it. We actually go in and we look at the code, and then we show you what it says, and then you make a decision on that equipment. Okay. True. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to share the screen real quick so everybody can look at it. And it's not me putting this words in anybody's mouth or anything and giving my opinion. I'm showing you what it says. Okay. True. So I'm looking here and I'm looking at electrical vehicles. Okay. Now, when you come in and you start looking at all these different things here, and you pick up the different types of equipment, let's see just what it says. As a matter of fact, let's just go down to this one here, electric vehicle power export equipment. Let's see what it says. The equipment, including the outlet on the electrical vehicle. Oh, what? You mean there's an outlet there? Oh, well, that's interesting because by what they're saying, the outlet's upstream. But looking at this, even in their own definition, they're telling you there's an outlet there. Oh, and then it says that is used to provide electrical power at voltages greater than or equal to 30 volts AC or 60 volts DC to loads external to the electrical vehicle using the electrical vehicle as the source of supply.
So who decides where the outlet is, James? Is that the NEC or is that the manufacturer?
Well, let's go a little further just to make sure. So let's look at electrical vehicle supply equipment, the supply equipment. Let's see what it says. Equipment for plug-in charging, including the ungrounded, grounded, and equipment grounding conductors, and the electrical vehicle connectors, attachment plugs, personal protection systems, and all other fittings, devices. Oh my God, you can't believe this. Power outlets are apparatus installed specifically for the purpose of doing what? Transferring energy between the premise wiring and the electrical vehicle. Oh, wait a minute. Jeremy told us that the premise wiring goes all the way. Oh, man, Jeremy, you may want to look at this. This is going against what you said.
Well, dude, how is the manufacturer telling the NEC what to say?
Wow. Isn't that something, folks? We're bringing it to you right here, showing you just what it says.
Yeah,
And
they just said the manufacturer is telling you where the outlet is, Jeremy.
yeah,
We're not saying there's no outlet. The outlet isn't where you think it is, dude.
yeah,
Like
it's
a
telling
magic
you here
show.
where it is. This isn't us saying it. We're
It
just
goes
reading what
where
it says.
dude. So stupid.
Mm.
It goes. Oh man.
I
It
just
goes
don't
to
know
the
where else to
equipment.
go from there. It specifically states exactly what we've been talking about. And yet we had Thomas Dmitrovich come on and he told us 210.8F still applies.
No, it doesn't.
Wow.
No, it doesn't.
That sort of takes it another level and says, no, I think you boys are wrong.
We said that there's no outlet that requires GFCI protection. That's what we've been saying the whole time. The manufacturer on EBSE, they provide personnel protection. That's just what you read, King James, just now. That the manufacturer provides personnel protection to the outlet, and they take over purview of that. So there's no outlet that NFPA needs to protect. So, Tommy D needs to kind of get back in the books. Maybe he's a little rusty, but this was a way that we crushed them, and they know it, and they're not happy about it. And
I've got another one here. This is interesting because we have to sort of look at what is required by 1910.7. So if
don't you dare OSHA! Don't you dare OSHA this podcast! Oh my goodness!
I just, it's interesting because when you get into this and you start looking at 1910.7, even as you go in and you look at OSHA actually has a list that's set up that they archive for your nurdles. Oh, really? So they require that. And then if I look at 1910.7, let's see if I can get over there. There we go. Let's see. 19.7, those are directives, Federal Register. That should be good. Yeah, because they're doing some things here that they showed where they've done some updates and stuff here. So this is interesting. Let me, something. I know what I'll do. I'll do it this way. This will be really good for Jeremy to look at. I always think it's good for him to see. And what I like to tell people, don't take our word.
I know OSHA has nothing to do with NFPA. So just to let everyone know, right here, just to let everyone know, live on our podcast, there's a hierarchy. It goes NFPA, it goes the listing agencies, then it goes OSHA.
Mm-hmm. Well,
NFPA does not determine anything for OSHA because NFPA is so much lower on the totem pole.
Well, I think it's always good to go in and look at what has been said. I think that's one of the most important parts as you look at this. Okay, so let's take a look and let's see if we're right on what we're saying. Okay, so I'm going to cruise it here. All right. Now, these are the rules that you have to follow in order to be considered a nurdle. Okay. Now, my most important part when I get out and I start looking at this is in C. So let's see what they say here.
Hey, just a quick question, not to interrupt you, James, but how would you use this document as an AHJ? I know you were an AHJ, But
Yeah.
how would you use this document to make this determination that Weedman says, oh yeah, OSHA has nothing to do with NFPA? I mean, how are you going to use that?
If I'm going out looking at equipment and it has a UL label on it, it's already been went through the test standards, and that equipment is up to snuff. And
True.
they're telling us that the appropriate test standards have been applied in order to determine that it provides an adequate level of safety to protect the public.
True.
Okay.
I agree.
So when I look at C, it talks about test standards. Let's see what it says.
Okay.
An appropriate test standard referred to in 1910.7B1I2, which is up above it, is a document which specifies the safety requirements. Now listen to this. For specific equipment or class of equipment, and is what? It is recognized in the United States as a safety standard providing an adequate level of safety, and it's compatible. Now listen to this. This is the most important part. And they're telling you the NEC overrides it in 110.3B, which, as I've stated before, you got code making panels on there that don't know all the other standards and stuff. And this is proof of this. It says that equipment there has to be compatible with and maintained current with periodic revisions of applicable national codes and installation standards. Oh, so now you got guys on here that are on code making panels that have done none of this testing, did all the work that is required in order to determine this equipment when it's installed in the industry out there or in the public. They're coming in now telling you, no. So let's see, based on that, I got to keep up and maintain and periodic revisions of the codes, installation standards, and everything. Let's see what it says. Who is it developed by? Developed by a standards developing organization under a method providing for input and consideration of views of industry groups, experts, users, consumers, governmental authorities, and other having broad experience in the safety field involved. Then it tells you, based on this, in lieu of C1, 2, and 3 that we just talked about, the standard is currently designated as an ANSI Safety Design Product Standard or an American Society of Testing for Material, that's your ASTM, test standard used for evaluation of products and materials. So if they're going to say what they're saying, they're basically saying that these people that developed this equipment and everything went through all the nurdles and everything, that the ANSI standards and the ASTM standards are null and void.
Right.
Because that's basically, and this is by OSHA, and you have to do this.
So I got a good one. You're gonna love this, James. So did the NFPA apply it to outlets other than dwellings prior to 1970? It still doesn't. NFPA does not apply it to outlets when it comes to personnel protection. Oh, they call it shock hazard, but that's the reason that they're mad. Just so everyone knows that we showed that the outlet doesn't apply. You can sit there and say all you want. Oh wow, I'm debating you live, and it's like, dude, no, you're not. It's all he's doing is just bringing up arguments that he wants to think in his head, and say,
When you get into that, if you're a contractor, if I'm a contractor goes out there and I employ 2 or more people, OSHA applies. I don't care if it's residential, commercial, or industrial. If you're a homeowner or just an individual going out, OSHA doesn't mess with you. But the other way they do, and it's even in their documentation that tell you that. So when you're hearing people like Jeremy come on here and they're griping and saying it doesn't apply to residential, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, it does. It depends on what rules are being applied at that point. And the reason I know these things, Jeremy, because I actually am an expert. I've been classified as one by a court, and I go out and do a lot of court cases, and we use OSHA all the time. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've actually done it in a court of law. You haven't. You're an apprentice instructor that comes on here thinking you're smarter than everybody else. And I'm showing you everything here with the language and all that, and you're still arguing about it. That
Yeah.
tells you right there something ain't right.
Well, and the one thing that the whole reason why King James had me on this podcast was because I showed him my qualified person card like about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, all right, I'm a qualified person, man. Can I be on? He's like, all right, I'll let you on. But the thing is, I've been docked a few times, been late, stuff like that. But the thing is that, the reason that I applied for this job to do a podcast with King James is because I knew that I was a bit of a troublemaker when it comes to these code panels, and I know what the hierarchy comes to. So,
Well, I'm gonna give you an
Wee Man
example of
doesn't
somebody.
understand it. He's sitting there in this office in Minnesota, and he doesn't understand that he's going right to the top of the hierarchy. What happens is all this stuff goes upstream. So, you go to all these different hierarchies. That's part of being a qualified person there, Jeremy, is you have to understand that it starts at a lower level and then it moves up. So, like, if there's a big problem and it goes to a court of law, who do they call? They call King James. And King James is going to look at all these different standards and realize how this hierarchy all fits in as like a puzzle. And
That's right. We do it all the time.
That's what I think is awesome. These guys can't understand this. That's why these trolls come in here.
Who was I having dinner with last night?
Mark Odie.
You called me and I said, I can't talk right now. I'm meeting with Mark Odie. He's in town. He's doing a class for FAA that's over at Alliance. And Dad and I went over and had dinner. And we were just sitting there talking about all kinds of different things. And I was telling him about the group stuff. I said, I said, these guys come on there and they said Dad was a freaking moron, an idiot and all that. You know what Mark said?
Jeremy said that. You said that, Jeremy.
He said,
I don't have to show proof.
Mark said, he goes, shoot. He goes, they couldn't even shine his shit. He said, I've been following and been going. He goes, I remember when I got started going to James Stalker's classes, all the stuff I learned just going to his classes. And even talks about, he said, I remember when he was at NFPA and then he teaches for NFPA still. And he said, I remember going in and learning about all the hazardous location and stuff. And then he applied himself and learned more about it and all that. But for them to come in and talk about James Stalker Sr. the way they do, you want to talk about the disrespect that they show and the anger towards anything at Stalker. That shows you right there. There's a problem right there with these guys. And for them to come on like this podcast all the time and just calling us names and all of that, it is all anger. And that's why I say these guys are nothing but simps for some. And I'll give you an example. It's just like, take my coat. My coat wanted to teach for NFPA. Guess what? Never happened because he don't know what he's doing. Okay? Yeah. Guess who else applied? And I know this because I'm not going to say his name, actually vouched for him to get on and teach NFPA. And they said, no. Ryan Jackson didn't get on. You know why? Because they don't know what they're doing. And they prove this over time and time again based on this. And when I say this, when you go to teach for NFPA, you got to go through a vetting process. And the vetting process, and after they give you okay, then they about 3 classes, sometimes 4, they go in and they actually evaluate your teaching ability and your knowledge on the code for you to continue to be an instructor for them.
Hey, I want to use this moment to give a big shout out to Mark Odie.
You spelled it wrong. It's ODE.
Yeah, some instructors don't know how to spell your name right, but big shout out to Mark Odie. He's a really awesome dude. Like I've communicated with him on social media.
He's going to be coming on pretty soon. He's very busy right now with some classes and stuff he's got going on, but said he said it'd be an honor to come on your podcast. So we'll have him on here. He's going to do a little class, whatever he wants to do it on. And you'll see Mark is very knowledgeable on the NEC.
Well, yeah, and I like how he said that the thing he didn't like was going against the manufacturer instructions like that. And that was the number one thing I isolated for the 2026 was I was like, you can go against manufacturer instructions all you want. But what happens is manufacturer instructions say, boom, done. Like, and the Standards Council proved that. It's done. You don't have an argument. You don't have a dog in the fight. You could have 600 NFPA voting members on the electrical side, and the Standards Council, one person says, nope. That's what happened in 2026. So the whole reason why we're doing this argument is out of a joke, but at the same time, it still shows you not going down. So
Well, the thing is, more than anything, we're showing you the sections, we're going through it, and we're showing you and giving you examples and everything. And based on that, you make a decision. Who's right? You know, we're not telling you have to believe us, but I'll tell you this, just because we disagree and we're showing the reasons why, Bill and I are attacked continuously over this.
yeah.
And that's a fact.
Dude, I love it. I think it's so much fun because like my apprentice, like he gets engaged like with what we're doing, and he's like, is this a code violation? And I was like, what? And he's like, no, I was talking, like somebody said something on one of the posts, like, yeah, that's a code violation. I was like, what? I was like, where? I was like, what is it? And he's like, whoa, I don't know. They just said it. And I was like, that's fine. They can say it all they want. But I was like, show me where it says it in the code. And it's just the whole thing, like Weedman just over there just getting torched every week. I mean, dude, we have like 100 and some comments, and he still goes back to the same thing over and over.
Let me explain this to people. He's not even showing you what the whole problem was here. He's just picking out what he wants. I gave very specific information, and I've already showed this. Matter of fact, all you have to do is go watch the podcast. It's go to Jeremy Weed over on YouTube. Watch the podcast of us. I go through, explain every bit of that, and he can't explain his portion. He just pulls one thing out, and that's the end of it. He doesn't go back and look what it tells you to actually do. And the interesting thing about what he's arguing is, and a lot of people know this, some may not, NFPA used to publish the Stalkit books. We're the only ones they've ever published, okay? And they paid for the right to do that, a hefty sum, I'll say, too. But we worked with them doing this, and they had their engineers and other people go in and look at the publications just to make sure there were no mistakes. They've got fully edited. This calculation he's arguing over, NFPA never changed it. They agreed with it.
So if you apply
and let me say this.
215.3, Jeremy, that sends you over to 240, you're applying 215.3. You're sizing that per 240. So I don't see where you're not applying it. And
it's the first sentence. It tells you to go there.
How many times have we had Weedman on? We had a really nice debate, and he got mad and hung up. So, you want to sit there and act like you've never been on here, Weedman. We've had you on here, and
the reason we don't have him on anymore is because of his attitude and the way he calls people names and all that. We don't want that. He comes into our chat in the comments, and he's putting all this stupid crap in there, but he never backs anything up. And I told him, well, go ahead and have your own podcast live stream. I'll come on. And he didn't like that too much. And people that have seen it, they said, man, you wore him out.
Oh, dude. It was pretty bad. So that was the second time, Weedman. And the first time, what I did was I just acted as moderator. I didn't want to say anything. I just was like quiet, and I just it was just between you and King James.
I'm gonna explain something.
I kind of got mad because he was kind of like calling me out, and that's why I jumped in. But
it was on an outlet, and all he kept doing was referring to a definition, but he wouldn't answer any of their questions while I was taking him through all the other different sections and actually applying the code as a whole. He just kept going to that one definition, and that is part of the problem. Is you can't just literally take every definition exactly what it says. You've got to look at other parts of the code, and then you'll see what the intent really was. And that's part of the problem. And to give you an example, and I went back, and I don't remember how far, but I went back to the 1940s, and a lot of people don't know this, but the definition of an outlet hadn't even changed. And for the first time in freaking 100 years almost, you're going in, and they tried to change the definition of an outlet to say what they wanted it to say. Well, guess what ended up happening? They had to take it back to regular definition because it screwed everything up, because there is no outlet there. That's why. It just, that's what happened. That's a fact. That's not hearsay.
Yeah.
I mean,
dude, I was so proud of like this podcast and like kind of what we've done as like me and you just kind of going back and forth. And like it's funny because what they've been trying to do, what Weed Man's been trying to do since day one, they've been trying to drive a spike between me and you and be like, oh man, you guys are going to disagree. And we agree. We don't disagree. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's true. And you're like, yeah, that's true. And I'm like, dude, out in the field, and so it's funny, you get like Weed Man, he gets all like worked up, and, he comes out there, sitting there, oh, blah, 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 and
that is not exactly what I said. I said, when you look back, I said the NEC mainly applied to dwelling units. There was some commercial in there, but it was
not mainly.
Yeah, mainly. And then if you go in, this is 100% fact. Anybody, we'll get Mark Odie on, I can get Dad on, I can get all these older guys on there, and they'll tell you exactly what I'm going to tell you. And people that have been on here know I've said this. I explained certain dates in OSHA. And at that time, OSHA was getting to where they told NFPA, we want you to take and get commercial, industrial, heavily into this, or we're not going to recognize the document. That happened. People that were there have told me this. This isn't hearsay. My dad's here. He'll tell you.
Yeah, show the documentation. Show the screenshot. Why don't you go transcribe our podcast like
no, it mainly did. And when you go in and you start looking at these dates, you pick up March 15th, 1972. Let me explain this. All you got to do, go look at OSHA 1910-302. Start laying it out. You'll see everything I'm telling you is exactly correct.
I'm pretty much certain that I remember you saying mainly. I don't remember you saying only, so I'm going to back you up.
Well, what I say, it's just only that when they had overcurrent protection, grounding and stuff in there that they were using. It might have been a slip tongue or whatever, but mainly it applied to residential. And when you go back and look and you pick up March 15th, 1972, anything that was installed before that time got to be grandfathered in. Then they got another date, April 16th, 1981. When between March 15th, 1972 to April 16th, 1981, if you come in and you did 50% or more remodel within the building, it had to be brought up to the current code. Then it went from that point on. And if you go back and you start looking at that time, March 1975. Now, and I'm going to give you an example, okay? They always update the code, what, every 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. If you go back, and everybody go check me. It's not hearsay. Just go check me and see if I'm right. In 1971, when that date was given, March 15, 1972, did we have a code book that was March or the year 1974? No, it skipped 1 year and they went 4 years to 1975. Why did they do that? Exactly the dates I'm giving you right now, because they want to bring it up to commercial and industrial.
True.
That's it. And I've heard this from the older inspectors and stuff out there. Matter of fact, we even in our design book, we even lay these dates out and everything so you understand what took place when they brought the code book up and started adding all the commercial industrial. I'll give you an example. When did Jeremy go check this? When did they start putting in cable tray as a wiring method? That's where they were used. They don't use that at that time. They didn't use it in any residential. So when did that cable tray come in? It come in right at that time because they started adding it for that.
True. Yeah, it was pre-1970. So, I think that was a good comment. Should we go to the meme now,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah, we've been going. Hey, I'm not even gonna get to do
Dude,
my
you
topic this
cannot
week.
you cannot put this on me. You wanted to argue. I'm sorry if I didn't have the soundbite in there. I'm kind of upset with myself because
That's all right. Let's
I was
roll
like,
the meme.
all right. Dude, there's always that time where the apprentice will come to me. He's like, Bill, you know all the tools, right? I'm like, yeah, I know all the tools. He's like, where am I going to find the wire stretcher? I'm like, is it the left-handed one or the right-handed one? Is it got pink handles? I try to I try to tip them off without tipping them off, but it
You
still
know who
gives me,
that meme that looked like Skeletor, and I saw
yeah.
a thing on one of them that they're coming out with the new movie, all the cool looking stuff on He-Man. I was like, I'm going to see that. I grew up
Yeah.
watching that cartoon.
Yeah, 100%. So, thanks so much for everyone joining. Means a lot. We're just having fun doing this. That's why we do the meme and everything. But the number one reason why we're here is for the myth of the week. Everyone's been waiting for this. I know Daniel's hanging in there. We got to probably hurry up because it's almost past Daniel's bedtime.
Okay, here we go.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
So, really awesome that everyone joins every week. We have a lot of fun doing this. Myth of the week. This is a picture that I stole off Google, but you can see how they have like this little small section of protection. This is really funny because I kind of wanted to ask you, King James, if you were an AHJ, would you require them to do this?
Well, a lot of times what ended up happening is as the AHJ, if we had a corrosive location, they had in the specs to put additional corrosive protection on the pipes and stuff, but it wasn't something that was required by code. And
Okay.
I don't think I ever went out to one that they didn't have it in the specs to add it. I don't remember ever seeing that.
Yeah, and so that's a good point. One of the things I want to bring up is that a lot of times this is like in the building spec. And so the AHJ is kind of required to enforce that building spec and be like, hey, they want this in there. It doesn't have anything to do with the NEC. So this is a really good thing that I want to kind of bring up this week, King James. And it kind of pushes back on them a lot. Is that, the corrosion protection is already required by the UL standard. Mm-hmm. So there's already corrosion protection that's in that thing. It's already in that UL standard. So is corrosion protection required? Yeah, it is. It's already required with that wiring method. That's the whole reason you use the wiring method. Why wouldn't you just PVC and flex it the whole way,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because you're using galvanized product that's already galvanized from the factory, and that's the whole reason they galvanize it, is it protects it from corrosion.
That's right.
Well, is there these AHJs? You know, this goes back into this whole argument that we've had with these guys with the Uper ground. So you're gonna pour it in concrete. Are you gonna not try to protect that? You know, it's that whole thing. It's like, oh no, it could be a number 8. So you're gonna pour a number 8 in concrete, and you're totally solid with it because they're never gonna change that service. It just goes into this whole thing. So no, we're gonna pick and choose. We're gonna do it over here, and it's fine because it proves our argument that number 8's the smallest conductor that you can use, whatever. But then if you will go, oh yeah, well I want to prove it in my jurisdiction. Yeah, that's not really upholding your argument. But the thing that is so cool about this is I didn't even know this. Every time we put galvanized rigid conduit or any kind of intermediate metal conduit, rigid metal conduit, anytime we've installed this, we've actually had to provide like extra corrosion protection for where it contacts the concrete, where it contacts the earth, where it contacts anything in there. That's what we've had to do. And that's been like from like the AHJ saying, no, you have to do this. And I didn't argue at all. I was just like, okay, cool, we have to do it. And that's the reason I wanted to do this week, because we've had times before where we've had rigid stub ups, and they're like, all right, you're going from PVC to RMC, stubbing up above the slab, and they're like, just protect it from corrosion. And I don't know if maybe they think there's possibility that the moisture can get in like the PVC from the RMC or whatever. But I never argued it. I just did it. But then if you go look at the UL standard and you go look at the UL design of this RMC, nothing says anything about you happen to have an additional corrosion protection. And I wanted to kind of bring this to your attention because I wanted to get it straight from you, King James, from you actually being the AHJ out there inspecting this, and you actually requiring this from me, and you knowing me, and I'm gonna push back and I'll be like, really? Show me the code. And stuff like that. That's what makes this podcast so hilarious, is that King James knows I'm going to argue it. And we can argue with the inspector here on this podcast. You guys can come in the chat, and you could argue in the chat, and you could sit there and come out. You could be Gopher fan 2794, and, it's just so funny, like... It's like he's arguing, but it's like he's not arguing. He's just like pounding his chest and trying to, beat a mute point that doesn't have anything to do with anything. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, the electrode is the number 4. And guess what? That's what we exactly said. So, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to get your perspective on this, because a lot of the guys out there say you can't argue with the AHJ, and that's part of the whole myth of the week, is to have an AHJ like you on here, and just to let everyone know, he was the AHJ for the city of Grapevine, and he was not just the representative for the AHJ, he actually was the chief electrical inspector. Mm-hmm. And I can argue with an inspector, and that's what's so cool about this podcast. Like, maybe the chief electrical inspector of the city of Grapevine might get the, code question of the week wrong this week, possibly. He might get some trivia questions wrong on the Willie Quiz, but he's not going to get this one wrong. And that's the whole reason that I like doing this podcast, because I can ask you any question, I get your interpretation, and I'll be like, what do you say, and how would you enforce this? To me, honestly, I don't really think this is really enforceable from a code standpoint. Like, I don't see you as the HJ being able to say anything unless you had like a written amendment from like the city of Grapevine that said you have to have additional corrosion protection on this, because corrosion protection is already required with this listed product.
Sure. Just like I said, it goes in just fine unless there were some specs or something that required additional protection.
Sure.
That's it. I can't even go any further. That's just the way it is.
So like go back, like just real quick, go back to that picture really quick that I put up there. So like you see where I'm putting that arrow, that's that black mark.
Right.
That's that. Like, so it looks like it comes up PVC, then it goes RMC, and then it goes, like, so the black part is where the corrosion protection is only for where the concrete's going to be. But then what you're sitting there saying is, oh man, if I, like, how are you going to enforce saying, no, that whole entire conduit has to, or that whole entire, I guess it would be considered a nipple, that whole entire nipple coming from the PVC to that LB or a GUB or whatever they call that damn thing. But like you would say, oh no, as an inspector, you have to have that whole thing corrosion protected. Well, it's already corrosion protected. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of why I wanted to do this mint this week. But I appreciate you. That was really awesome. And like I say, that whole entire black paint part is not required by code.
That would be correct.
Yeah.
That's
So
the way I'd
pretty-
look at it. I wouldn't argue anything with it.
Yeah.
I'd do that's fine.
Yeah, so that's a reason I do the myth of the week, because you guys have an AHJ at your disposal and you can ask them any question except the ones you want to get wrong. But should we go to Willie Quiz? Or what should we do? I don't care. We'll go tool.
What
I don't
time
care.
is it? Yeah, we're late. Let's do tool of the week, and then we'll wrap the remainders up because we're already at over an hour and a half.
Okay.
So we're gonna do tool of the week.
All right.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
So yeah, this is one of the ones I ran across. One of the guys let me borrow one. We had to take some bolts off of one of the things, and man, I really like this, man. It's like having a socket and a wrench. So what's so cool about this? Milwaukee's kind of getting into the, this kind of like electrical tool kind of thing where it's like these tools, but basically this was a 3/4 that I had at the time. I had to remove this bar. I'm working at DIA. We're working at the airport, and like a lot of these bars that we have to remove are like pretty stout, So I had to kind of grab this 3/4 wrench and kind of reef on it. And what's really nice is you could get in there and get it on there. Then you could have that leverage, and then if the closed end can't get on there, then you could grab that open end, flip it around, grab that open end. I really like this. Like, the guy let me use it, and man, I just reaped this thing off there like really fast. Like, I was able to just put it in there, pull that baby off real quick, and then what's crazy about working at DIA is that you could take stuff apart really fast, and it's real easy. But if you don't put it back together, you will hear about it. So that's what I really liked about this tool, is that not only could you take it apart fast, you could put it back together fast. And that's what I really liked. This was a really cool tool that the gentleman, big shout out to you. Thanks for letting me use it out there at DIA. It was really cool. When I saw it, I was like, man, I'm going to do a tool review on this. It was really cool. We had to get this guardrail off so we could work in a certain area, and then we had to like get the guardrail off really quick, and then we had to put that guardrail back on really quick. So it was cool. Got the guardrail off really fast. Worked, did our thing, what we needed to do, and then we got it back on really quick. And then I gave the gentleman back his wrench, and I said, you know what, sir? I'm gonna do a tool review on this, and really cool, man. Really cool tool. I was so surprised they had Milwaukee on it. I says, yeah, we cover Milwaukee tools on our show. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I was really surprised. Like, just the swivel on it. It had, I want to say it had like 2 different swivel points, maybe even 3 different swivel points. But I really liked it how it just had that swivel. And you could use the closed end for going real fast with the ratchet. And then if it just got tough, then you could just flip it around and use the open and get in there tight and get her done. But no people were harmed in the use of this Milwaukie wrench, removing a guardrail. And we removed the guardrail, put it back. It was all good. And so it was pretty cool.
Nobody was hurt.
Yep. No, didn't have no GFCI protection on that wrench either. So
that's funny.
It was all
Nobody
good.
was hurt.
Yeah,
All right.
No.
You want to do, let's just do the Willie. Well, we got question of the week.
Whatever you want to do, you're going down. You're going
We'll
down,
do the
dude.
question
Daniel,
real quick.
Daniel is
Get it out of the way,
Daniel's
then we'll
waiting.
do Willie.
Daniel.
For years, man tried to create artificial intelligence. On this segment, we find out, is AI smarter than King James?
Dude, I'm taking AI over you this week. I got my money's on AI this week, man.
Let's see what we got.
I don't
Let's
know,
see.
man.
Pendant conductors. If I'm not mistaken, that's 3 foot, and I think it's over like 410, 52 or something like that. All right, let me pull up NFPA so I can go see here, find it.
You know ChatGPT is watching right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yep, it's 3 foot. It's 54C. I was close. All right. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Let me
Oh,
share
he's
the
going
screen.
9 p.m. bedtime.
Yeah.
That's funny. I told you.
All right. There we go. We got that set up. Let me increase the size here a little bit. Let's see. ChatGPT gets it correct.
I hope it's in the database.
3 feet. They got it right. They said
Oh.
62B.
Oh.
So I'll tell them.
Got it a little wrong. But that's cool. Like, that's the whole reason we're doing this, because I don't know. To me, I thought, man, I don't know if King James is going to be hip on this one. Like, it's a little out of left field.
I think I had this one in the NEC Death Match.
Okay. Nice. Well, I would have known it now.
For the 410.54 states.
You said 410/54C?
Yeah,
All right.
that was in 2023.
Wow.
Okay.
Couldn't get him. I was telling this guy at DIA, I was like, dude, 140 questions. I got him like 7 times.
Let me tell it to lock it into the mastery log.
There you go.
Okay, got it.
All right, Daniel. Daniel, we're going to do the Willie Quiz so you can go to bed, sir. Thanks for hanging in there. That's really awesome having Daniel hang out
Stop
with
sharing
us.
that. Got that out of the way. So now we're
Yeah.
going to do Willie Quiz. Here we go.
I don't know how Adam got my natural muscles, like my natural physique, like my shirt off. That's pretty cool.
Wrong one. There we go. Clicked on the wrong one.
This was like really awesome to do the Willie Quiz this week. And like what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually stall you guys just a little bit because I forgot to put my drum roll in, so I have to like go over to here and I have to like put my drum roll actually into my Willie Quiz sounds. But I think we got her taken care of. And so one of the things, like, let's just make sure it's good. Like, I don't want to hear any. All right. So, I did a podcast on the children of the sun, and it was really cool because I could not believe the amazing facts that I found out about the sun. But our sun, the star, what would happen if you could magically scoop a teaspoon of the sun and bring it to Earth? What would happen? A, it would instantly vaporize. B, it would explode like a bomb. C, it would weigh more than a car. D, it would cool instantly and become harmless. Or E, it would cause a massive chain reaction black hole. Good luck, everyone. All right,
well,
already Daniel's out there saying it would explode like a bomb.
That's not what I was going with.
That's a good answer, though. That's a good answer.
I was thinking you took it because the sun has a lot of mass. I know that. And I think the mass would be real heavy. But I don't know if it'd weigh more in a car, but I know it has a lot of mass. So I'll go with C because I know it has a lot of mass.
All right. Well, Daniel has a really good answer because it could cause like some kind of chain reaction. King James got it right. It would be a lot of mass that would weigh more than a car.
I didn't know it weighed more than a car, but I know it had a lot of mass. The sun has a lot of mass. I know that. So I just going off of, I guess, basically, but I was right.
Yeah, you got it. All right. What percentage of the sun's mass is hydrogen? Is it A, 38%, B, 55%, C, 71%, D, 88%, or E, 92%? Good luck, everyone.
I know the sun has a lot of hydrogen. I'm stuck between C and D. All right, I'm gonna flip on this. Heads for 71. I got C. I'll go with heads.
So let's see. Daniel is saying C.
Oh, really? So I guessed right. I guess. I'm not going to lose this one.
That's very interesting.
I know it has a lot of hydrogen, but I wouldn't think it'd have 92%, but 71 to 88%, somewhere in there is where I would think.
We have two correct answers for Question number 2, 71%. The rest is helium.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was good answers. Good answers. So King James in the lead with 2 correct answers.
Oh, I know
Daniel
this
just
one.
barely trailing. All right. The sun produces energy by burning like a fire, nuclear fission, or C, nuclear fusion, or D, gravitational collapse, or E, gravitational pressure. Good luck, everyone.
My first, that it's nuclear, but I was thinking nuclear fusion. I know that it goes in. When you look at the sun's core, this much I know is you got the hydrogen that's there, which is like the nuclei, but it's fused together with the helium, like you were talking about, and that converts that mass into energy. That's where you get the Einstein famous quote: E equals mc squared. Okay.
So
And
can you say why it's not fission?
I just think, if I remember right, I thought it was fusion. I don't think, I think, because it's got to fuse together. The hydrogen and the helium, it fuses together with the mass.
What does fission do?
I'm not sure. First, when I was looking, I was thinking it's got to fuse together. It's not a fission, and I'm not sure exactly. I think, if I'm not mistaken, when you look at fission, I think that's where it splits. I think it splits, like you got your atoms and stuff, and when it fizzes like that, it splits and creates a whole bunch of smaller atoms. I think that's what fission is. I'm not 100%. Is that correct?
I don't really agree with that. Daniel is going nuclear fusion. He is agreeing with you.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's got to fuse together.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We're going to find out what fission is tonight. We have 3 correct answers from King James.
Wow.
Daniel gets 2 good answers. So if I understand it correctly, fission is the atoms bouncing off of other.
So it has to create a whole bunch of small ones. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not splitting them though.
It's not splitting. Okay.
Like fission is just the atoms bouncing off each other. So that would be like one of those freaking. It's just basically like a whole bunch of molecules just bouncing around. Bouncing off each other. Like, the fusion is when the atoms are splitting and actually creating new elements. So...
Yeah, they have to fuse together to cause the explosion, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's what.
And so that's what creates the energy. Like, fission is just a bunch of molecules bouncing off each other. It doesn't create as much energy. All right, so approximately... how many Earths could fit inside the sun by volume? So basically, like, how many Earths can fit inside the sun combined? Is it about 100? Is it about 300? 330? Is it about 1,300? Is it about 2,000? Or over 1 million? Good luck, everyone.
I,
1
This is an interesting one because I know the Earth is really small compared to others, and the sun's really huge. So I'm thinking, man, God, it's definitely a high number. I just don't know if it's over.
Well, as
a
long as
million.
it's not Daniel's 5,000.
I would think it would be more than 2,000. Yeah, okay. So that's what I was thinking. I was thinking about 4 or 5,000. That's why I was going to E. So it must be E. Okay, I'll go with E.
All right, so Daniel is taking over 1 million.
Yeah, me too.
The correct answer is C, about 1,200.
Really?
Or 1,300. So about 1,300 Earths fit inside of the sun, but that's still massive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still massive.
That's why I was like 4 or 5,000. I was thinking something like that because it is pretty big. The sun is. So okay.
All right. Which of these is true about the sun's core temperature? A, it's cooler than lightning. B, it's about 1 million degrees Fahrenheit. C, it's about 10 million degrees Fahrenheit. D, it's about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. Or E, it's just hotter than hell. Don't even calculate it. Good luck, everyone.
Well, we don't know what hell's temperature is, but I'm going to assume it's as hot as you can get. So I'm going to go with D. I'm not sure, but I'm going with D. I think it is about as hot as you can get it.
Well, Daniel is going to agree and copy King James. So let's see. Good luck, everyone. The answer is B, 27 million. All right, so now we have to go into the tiebreak. Oh, no, we don't. King James won.
I got 4. He got 3. So he can tie me.
All right, so we'll go into the tiebreaker question. This one's like a really hard one, actually. I don't know. So, how many years does it take the sun to orbit one orbit in the Milky Way?
Wow, I've never really thought of that. But when you're looking at it, I'd say it had to be in the millions of years. So, because you're talking the whole Milky Way, I don't know. 200 or 100 million, 200 million. I'll go with that.
I'm trying to get like an accurate number so that I can be like the thing is, like, who was there to see it like orbit once? Like that's kind of a good one.
Well, I'm thinking of the whole orbit and everything. That had to take millions of years. So I was at 100. I think it's longer than that, probably. 150. I'll go 150 instead of 200.
All right. So Daniel says 100 million years. King James says 150. The answer is 250 million years.
Oh, wow.
King James takes the win once again. 4 in a row. Oh, my goodness. That was
I am
ridiculous.
just a freaking stud.
Man, the thing is, Daniel, he got scared because he went like 800 years on the Roman Empire, and you had like 10 years or something. So pretty cool. That's pretty fun. Like doing the tiebreaker part. That was really hard for me because I wanted to do it to make it fair, and you actually are the one that kind of are like fair and balanced, and you kind of like stay lower. So I was trying to kind of bait Daniel into going higher, but it was really fun. Really fun to have you guys join the podcast and in the chat, especially Daniel. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and dude, that was a lot of fun, man.
Got really one more thing. Got to do washing.
Yeah, no, I 100%.
All right,
I just want to give Daniel a sign off because he's going to bed.
All right. Past bedtime. I'm getting hungry. I'm going to eat at 9.
Shame. 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 Shame.
Dude, you will love this. This big shout out to my old boss, Paul Parsons. Worked for him for many years, and just a good dude. And they must have ran across this, but man, this is a weatherproof NEMA 1 weatherproof upgrade. Man, just put a bunch of duct seal in there. Like, looked like they duct sealed the connector and stuff too.
Yeah, that's funny.
But really cool. Big shout out to Paul Parsons. Really good dude. And like I said, he put that in there. And yeah, you guys might have to go back. I might have to post it on like a different site. I might have to post it on Code Discussion and be like, hey man, can you just make something weatherproof because you will it to because you're weed man or something? I don't know. Like, I don't know. The thing is that's so funny is I still really think it's funny that Weed Man's like, oh wow, you don't teach code? Dude, we actually showed you tonight that we teach exactly what the code says. You guys are the one that failed to interpret it correctly to make your side correct. And that's not our problem. I mean,
I ain't worried about him. He's just a loudmouth keyboard warrior.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I really appreciate it. I know King James getting hungry.
I'm hungry.
He's gonna make sure and give Pops my signatory, salute to service, of the NEC, and I appreciate it. Thanks so much for putting this together, King James. And as always, remember, make every day an easy day. I think we got 2 hours. I think we just got under 2 hours.
Right under 2. All right. Well, everybody have a good weekend. We'll see y'all next Thursday.
Yep.
Peace.